Welcome to Random Topics, the show where we make a half-hearted attempt to infotain you with semi-interesting, unrelated random topics in the categories of arts, science, history, and geography. I'm Mac.
And I am Chris.
And today's topics are: in arts, we have sword swallowing.
In science, we have fabric softener.
In history, we have guinea pig domestication.
And in geography, we have Red Lake County, Minnesota.
All right, but first, Chris, what are we drinking?
Well, today we are drinking the Garten Brau. I'm probably not saying that right. Special Pilsner from Capitol Brewing, which is, their German-style Pilsner that they do. They import the hops, I believe, from Europe somewhere.
I think this is actually like a series, the Garten Brau.
Oh, okay,
I think they have a couple of other, I think they have like some sort of amber that's also in that series.
Interesting.
But I understand you're a big fan of Pilsners.
Well, they're not always my favorite, but there's a first time for things that happen at least once.
It's not bad. Let's talk about sword swallowing.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows what sword swallowing is. The irony is that there's actually no swallowing involved, and in fact, it's kind of an exercise in not swallowing.
Really?
Yeah.
What is involved in it then?
Well, first, let me tell you a little bit about the history of sword swallowing and just how old of an art it is. It goes back to the 1st century, at least, in Greece and Rome. There's evidence of it spreading to China in the 8th century. In the Middle Ages, that's when it really became popular, I think more kind of mainstream in terms of street performance and at festivals, which is where you see it today, right? And in the early 1900s, it became popular as a circus sideshow. And that's also the point in time where it kind of became competitive. Just swallowing a sword wasn't enough. It, got down to people wanting to swallow more than one sword, or a longer sword, or a curved sword, or, put the sword in your mouth and then twist it.
There are a lot of variations on it.
Yeah, people started getting more creative with it. But the way you do it is you throw your head back and you hyperextend your neck. Then the sword enters your mouth. It has to pass your pharynx and your sphincter, which is the real trick, because there's a lot of involuntary reflex there that sword swallowers need to learn how to control in order to not injure themselves or kill themselves. And then it goes through the esophagus, which I think is not one of the trickier parts because it's sort of flexible, and then into the stomach. And the thing about getting it into the stomach is that often sword swallowers will eat a big meal or drink a lot of water right before doing their act to get their stomach in a more vertical position so that the sword can go a little bit deeper.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have thought of that.
But it is dangerous, and there is documentation on this. There's a medical journal article about it in 2009, and at that point, since 1880, there had been 29 deaths attributed to sword swallowing.
I was going to talk about fabric softener. Do you ever use fabric softener?
I don't.
Well, have you ever heard of it and then you thought, how does that even work?
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you about it.
I'm always distracted. I mean, the only thing I know about fabric softener is, I think his name is Cuddles.
The bear?
Yeah, from
the commercials?
Bounty.
I don't know which one that is.
So when I think fabric softener, I think that bear. And so instead of thinking about fabric softener, I'm thinking about how did they make that bear come to life?
That's true. And how did they get it to be a spokes bear?
Yeah, that might be a more interesting science topic.
Yeah, you're right. We'll have to settle for this for right now. What happens is that the fabric softener contains these chemicals that coat the surface of the fabric, and they use an electrical charge to cause all the fibers to stand up. And that's why it feels soft. And there's
because
something
the fibers are sticking.
Yeah, and then there's something called cationic softeners, which also bind this negative charge, or it binds to the charges that are in the fibers to neutralize it or something like that. There's some kind of science happening. And manufacturers claim that fabric softeners, in addition to making your clothes softer, it'll improve ironing, so it'll glide better. Stain resistance will improve, reduced wrinkles, and then also it will reduce drying time, supposedly. I don't know which company that is. Early softeners that were based on the water emulsion of soap and oil, so they use like olive oil or corn oil for that.
I definitely know what emulsion means.
Yeah, I thought about clicking on that link on Wikipedia and I didn't, so I don't really know what that is.
We can save that topic. Just file that one away.
I'm just gonna save it.
One day that'll be our science stuff.
Now here's something I'm going to try to pronounce. In the 1950s, they introduced this other thing called disteryl dimethyl ammonium chloride. But they don't really use that as much because I guess it doesn't degrade very quickly, and so it's kind of fallen out of use, I believe. I don't use it because a lot of for certain types of things they recommend not using fabric softener. So, for instance, a lot of like running gear, if it's like like moisture wicking, things like that,
because it can mess up the properties.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to use fabric softener with that. We can have another special edition show where we go over running preparation.
Do you know how I prepare for running? By deciding to not run.
Yeah, that's the first step.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, because then you're like, how will I meet my goals?
My goal is to never have to run.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm really a high achiever. Let's talk a little bit about guinea pigs.
Okay.
And specifically the history of the domestication of guinea pigs. They are really, really old. They were domesticated in 5000 BC, at least, in the Andes. That's in South America.
Yeah.
For food.
Nice.
Which might not surprise you. If you ever watch the Food Network, I feel like I've seen guinea pigs getting eaten on the Food Network.
I've never seen that.
That's what they're domesticated for. There are depictions in ancient art from 500 BC to 500 AD, found by archaeologists. From 1200 AD until the Spanish conquest, which was in the 1500s, that's when there was a lot of selective breeding going on and a lot of separations into the different breeds, some of which we still have today in our domestic guinea pigs. Guinea pigs frequently appear in South American folklore. They're exchanged as gifts. They're used in social customs and religious ceremonies, traditional healing rituals. They're also in like a lot of just common like spoken metaphors in South America, which I thought was kind of weird, but I don't know what any of them are.
Oh, you mean like they're just like sayings that involve guinea pigs?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We should learn some. And
I
then
know,
try to,
I should have, but I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe next time.
I had real work to do. So Spanish, Dutch, and English traders brought the guinea pigs from South America to Europe, where they became popular exotic pets for the rich and famous, including Queen Elizabeth I. She had a pet guinea pig. And then also, they have been used in scientific research since the 1600s.
Is that why we refer to them as in the way that we do?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes. The term of, you're going to be the guinea pig for this. It's because of their long-standing participation in scientific and medical research.
Yeah. It's not voluntary.
Yeah. God bless them. Yeah. Lost a lot of good guinea pigs out there.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of Red Lake County, Minnesota? It has about 4,000 people. And it's somewhat famous because the Washington Post published an article in August of 2015, and they were looking at some U.S. Department of Agriculture data set on natural amenities. And this county was ranked at the bottom, and so they said something like, this is the absolute worst place to live. And I think, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
And obviously all the people who live there, sent the journalists, emails and things like that. And one of the local business owners invited him to go out there, and he did that like a month later, I think. And, he got greeted, and they brought him around to different places. They gave him a cake that was a map of the county that was like topographically accurate, apparently.
Wow.
I guess a few months later, he was talking with his wife, and they have twin boys, and they were thinking, we don't want to live in the DC like suburbs anymore. We have to commute like 90 minutes every day, each way. And then I think one of their parents said, well, why don't you move to that nice place in Minnesota? And so I guess they moved there, and they bought like a house that had like a barn or something, and I don't know. He said it's really nice. And so I'm thinking road trip, maybe?
Yeah. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.